Welcome to the ARCHLine.XP kitchen and cabinet design video. Today we are going to make a modern kitchen. Here is the floor plan and I have already drawn it in advance to see what elements our kitchen will consist of. In the video, I will use the interior KBB menu commands. On the first tab, I need to set the dimensions of the cabinet, such as width, height and depth. I rewrite the width to 900 mm. The height and depth do not change. On the second tab, I set the values for the front and the handle. Choose a grey front and a suitable handle. I need to set how our cabinet will be divided. Here I will place drawers by selecting the third tab. There will be 3 drawers here, so I choose the multiple front. The element number is rewritten from 4 to 3. If this has been done, I accept it with the create tick. The drawers are ready. I save it with the save as command. Let's call it 900 mm wide item. I select the kitchen category and the lower cabinet subcategory. I can enter the manufacturer's name for the manufacturer. If it is not known, I can enter our own name as well. I left with the OK button, and then placed it on the floor plan. The next element will be a 450 mm wide 2-drawer cabinet. I will modify our 900 mm wide element to copy it and then modify it. The new width will be 450 mm. Then, under the Drawers tab, I change the item number from 3 to 2. I am ready with the modification. The next element will be an oven. I also start from the 900 cm wide element, and modify it. I click on it and change its parameters again with the small pencil. Its width and other data do not change. I delete the drawers, then look for the selected oven on the Kitchen Appliances tab. I will choose the Miele Combi oven and place it in the cabinet with the green tick. Its position is still not good because it is further inside than the body, so I have to move the oven forward along the green axis. You can even move it manually like this or rewrite it to -50 mm. This is still not perfect because the edges of the cabinet are visible. Therefore, for the gap option, the value must be rewritten to 20 mm on each page. The oven is in the right place. I also save this as oven. The categories remain unchanged. I close the dialog with OK. I click OK once more and the element has changed on the model. The next element is again a 450 mm wide drawer element. Therefore, I copy the already used 450 mm drawer element to the next place. Then comes a 900 mm element with 3 drawers. Therefore, I move the already used element to the next place. Making the island is the next step, which will start with a 550 mm element with 3 drawers. I mirror a copy of the 900 mm element with 3 drawers by clicking on the rotation arrow. I specify the mirror axis and it's done. I move it into place. I reverse the direction of the arrow indicating its width and rewrite the width to 550 mm. The next item will be a double door sink. A copy of the previous element is placed in the new location. Then I will modify its parameters with the small pencil. This will be a sink cabinet with a 900mm wide door. So I delete the drawers and make the double door on the door tab. Since it will be a sink cabinet, its top must be removed. I save it under the name sink and then press the OK button and move it into place. The next item is a dishwasher. I copy and modify the previous element. I will change its width to 600mm. Under the door tab, I select the downward opening door. The top panel is switched back on. I save it under the name dishwasher and then press the OK button and move it into place. The last item will be similar to the first item, but with 4 drawers. So I copy the first element and modify it. Under the Drawers tab, I change the item number to 4 and save it under the name 4 drawers. The categories remain the same. Next, let's prepare the cabinet furniture for the household room. The first element will be a 1010mm wide element with 3 drawers, so I will copy and modify the 900mm wide element. I will rewrite its width to 1010mm. The rightmost element will be the same element, so I'll move the copy and move it into place. The middle element is a 600mm wide sink element. Therefore, I copy the previous element and then rewrite its width to 600mm. I am deleting the drawers. Under the Door tab, I create a door that opens to the left. I also modify the top panel as before. I save it as sink 600mm. I do not change the categories and move it into place. Let's see the result in the 3D view. You can walk around using the View menu, Animation, Walk-in and Fly command. Let's continue with the countertops. The countertop is created using the instructions in the Interior, KBB Furniture, Countertop menu. I reactivate the floor plan and click on the furniture in a row, then close the instruction with Enter. I change the settings in the countertop dialog. I turn off the wall strip and remove countertop edge. I rewrite its thickness to 20mm and search for the NATO marble material. Here I will place an induction hob above the oven, which can be selected on the fourth menu item. Its location needs to be changed. It must be shifted to the right along the red axis. If we know the exact size, we can transcribe it here. Be 1800 mm. If we don't know the exact size, we can also shift it manually. We are done with the worksheet. I save the countertop to the kitchen category in the countertop subcategory. Let's continue with the kitchen island. Now we use the countertop by profile command. Enter the start and end of the countertop line, then press enter. I change its settings in the countertop dialog. It's a little lower than it should be. In the general settings, I rewrite its height to 900 mm and it's already in place. I change its thickness to 20 mm. I turn off the wall strip and the countertop edge. I also select the material. I place the sink and the faucet, which I know on the third tab to select. I will now choose this Blanco de leg. I accept it, and here too I move it along the red axis to 1000 mm. Then I select the corresponding water tap and move it 1000 mm along the red axis. I see that they collide with each other, so the tap and the sink must be moved apart not only along the red axis, but also along the green axis. The fact that it is a kitchen island is wider than a normal countertop, so you can sit next to it. Therefore, I have to rewrite its width to 820 mm. I need to correct the position of the tap and the sink. The right side of the kitchen island is closed with a panel. Now rewrite the height of the right panel to 900 mm. The countertop is in the wrong place on the kitchen island, so it needs to be moved. I choose the Move with Given Point command. I select the point with which I move. I give the reference point. This should be the corner of the kitchen island. Compared to this, we place the selected point shifted by 20 mm. Now let's continue with the countertop of the utility room. It will be a little easier. So, as we learned, I choose the countertop by cabinets instruction. I select the cabinets and close the selection with the Enter key. I change its thickness to 20 mm. I turn off the wall strip and the countertop edge. I will specify the material. I choose the same Blanco del Lago sink and move it 1320 mm on the red axis. I move forward along the green axis by 30 mm. I select the corresponding tap and move it to the right by 1320 mm, then back by 30 mm and down by 20 mm. We'll save this too. Let's continue with the modeling of the plinths, for which I use the interior menu, KBB, Plinth by Profile command. Here, I click on the start and end points, then close the command with an enter. Using the warp command, I take a closer look at the result. We see that the plinth has been lowered. This is because the profile reference point was centered. I also need to modify its material. Make it Pantone Gray. The width of the profile is 20 mm, the height is 150 mm. I also change the reference point of the profile. I move from the center to the bottom center. I accept with the OK button. The height of the plinth is now adequate, but we have to push it further in compared to the cabinet. Therefore, by clicking on the plinth, I move it 50 mm inside with the offset instruction. So everything seems right. I will use the same plinth for the other two cabinets. Therefore, I select Draw as an instruction from the context menu of the finished plinth. The plinth is completed by specifying the start and end point of the plinth. In the same way as before, I push it 50 mm inside with the offset instruction. And finally, I also use Draw as an instruction to draw around the kitchen island. Here, too, I have to push further inside. For this I use the Offset All instruction. I look at the kitchen cabinets with the walk-in command. We see that the corpus cuts into the closing element. The worktop must be extended by 20 mm. The modification is done on the floor plan. I click on the endpoint of the worksheet and select the length change. I extend by 200 mm. I move the endpoint 20 mm to the left so that they do not collide with each other. That's fine. I make a cover panel for the back of the kitchen island, which matches the color of the front. Select the interior menu, KBB, Furniture command. I select its color and rewrite its dimensions. The width of the island is 2600 mm and the height of the cabinets are 750 mm. I save this element as a cover panel. I accept it with the OK button. I move it to the right place on the floor plan. I still need to set the relative height to 150 mm. The panel is perfectly in place. Let's continue with the modeling of the upper cabinets, for which I also use the interior menu, KBB, Cabinet command. First, the legs must be deleted. First, on the Legs tab, I click on the Hide Legs option. On the very first tab, I set the height assigned to the legs to 0 mm. Then we rewrite its total height, which will be 600 mm and its depth 350 mm, its width is 450 mm. We select the standard sized front and the corresponding handle. Then I put a side opening door on it. I see that the handle is in the wrong place, because it should be at the bottom center, so I will change its position on this tab to a unique position and bottom center. Using the Save As command, I save the upper cabinet with doors in the category Kitchen, Wall Cabinet. Then we place it on the floor plan and adjust it in place. Its relative height is 0, this must be rewritten to 1500 mm. Then we put two more elements next to each other by copying and moving. Leave 900 mm for the extractor fan. Then there are 3 pieces 440 mm upper cabinet elements. Let's continue placing the upper cabinets in the utility room. I copy a cabinet, put it in its place, and then rewrite its width, because only 440 mm elements will fit here. First, we reverse the small arrow and rewrite the width to 440 mm. If this has happened, I will copy this again side by side 5 times. Our last piece will be 402 mm instead of 440 mm, so we will change this as well. The kitchen is ready. We will also look at it in 3D with the walkthrough command. In the Object Center, I will find the mile extractor fan. I downloaded this from 3D Warehouse. I grab it and drag it onto the floor plan and place it. I have to rotate it and put it in place. Its relative height will be 1500 mm. We are done with the kitchen, which we saw in the plan. We can see the entire equipment of this kitchen, which I have prepared in advance, by turning on the transparencies and building the 3D model. I switched the disconnected layers back on. The 3D model still needs to be rebuilt. It was successful, and we can see the finished kitchen with the walkthrough. Thank you very much for your attention.